It's free radio. Gamers get your ears on because we're blowing the speakers out.
Grimdark Live. It is time for Grimdark Live. This show is for the nerds, the outcasts, the weirdos.
And for short pants gamers?
No, not you.
Ah, crap.
Get ready, all you Grimdark goons, for dice, dragons, demons, and a dwarf. Only right here on Grimdark Live.
Let's hit the fucking road!
Hey, welcome to Grimdark Live. Welcome back. We're here 2025. We are back and ready to start talking about this tabletop game.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year. Happy New Year.
Yeah, we missed a week. We were going to try to come back last week, but I was sick. Camille was in prison, and Bill was MIA. We don't really know what happens to him. He just kind of comes and goes.
That's just kidding. He got his dick cut in a door jam again.
Slammed that son of a bitch. And Dustin, you want to explain what you were doing, Dustin?
I got lost at the Weird Flame.
Yeah, there you go. Because that's part of what again?
Well, if you take a right at the Silver Tower, you're going to end up in the Weird Flame. So the problem is all the walls are
left.
smooth. There's no hard corners. So you can't find your way out. You just keep weaving around out of the dance floor.
That's it.
No return.
That's it. So, but welcome back, everybody.
California.
What's
Very,
that?
very
Hotel
Southern
California.
Well, that's on fire right now.
It's not like John Travolta in that movie, though.
There you go. That's on. Well, Camille, you're from California, so that was.
I'm not from California.
You're from L.A., dude. Like you were
I'm
there,
from
man.
Naperville, dude.
Bruh.
I mean, Naperville's close enough to LA.
Yeah, that's true.
You know,
That's
same
true.
mentality, just slightly nicer people.
Less beaches. There's a lot of beaches there. What you talking about, man? All the beaches.
It's like those Falkland Islands, huh? The
Falkland Islands. I love those Falkland Islands.
What are you talking about?
But welcome back, everybody. We're back, and hey, listen, I've been hearing from some of the folks. I guess everyone else here has been hearing intermittently too that some people have been unsubscribed from the channel. So YouTube is being a bunch of cunts, and we just want to let you guys know if you guys didn't get your notification to please resubscribe and check that out, because we've heard from 2 people today alone that that they were unsubscribed.
And make sure to click the bell as well, so that you're getting all notifications, because sometimes if you have just the regular notification thing, it may not work. But yeah, I've heard from several other channels that just people will randomly get unsubscribed for reasons.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Twister.
Yeah, that's crazy. But yeah, so if you guys find yourself unsubscribed, you're not getting notifications, go ahead and resubscribe and hit the bell button, because you don't want to miss the fucking mayhem that happens.
If you don't like them, come for me.
There you go. That's right. You can
All
just,
puns intended. Come.
you can just stare at Camille, because what's good enough, Camille?
3 inches is just good enough.
3 inches. 3 inches is enough.
Right.
Just a bit outside.
Hey.
So
Happy New Year.
But tonight, folks, what we're going to be talking about is a little bit of a kind of a warm up. I mean, here it is, new year, new armies, new year, how to play, all that kind of stuff. And so we're going to be talking about that. And I think it's important because I think the most interesting part that we're going to get into tonight, and I don't know if this is how you feel about it, Bill, but why do gamers change armies, right? We got a guy in our club, Steve.
Yeah.
We know why he changes armies, right? Because every day becomes something different. And now Camille's doing some interior decorating.
It's reflecting on my big forehead.
Don't risk it.
We're
You leave that billboard in plain sight there, little lady.
It's
now
reflecting
everybody
on my
got a
forehead.
view of
Sorry.
everything with Camille.
That's
But
alright, she just looks like Demonette from Slash, it's fine.
I'm Casper, the fucking friendly ghost here.
you know what? Yeah, we are having some superior lighting situations that are happening here in the Nerd Bunker studio. So you gotta bear with us. And yeah, her forehead is awfully large right now.
Okay, let's change topics.
Back to the fucking show.
Back to the fucking show. All the beaches, man. So yeah, we're gonna be talking about that. And the thing is, I think the interesting part to go back to it is, why do people switch up on armies? Why do they switch up on armies? We know why Steve does it. We know exactly why he does it.
It's because they love the smell of new plastic.
That's it. But I think we're going to get into that. We're going to talk about, how important it is.
Sniff glue with made models. You need an excuse.
And I think it's going to tie into kind of what we talked about too a lot on the show as far as how to become proficient with an army. I think that helps establish is it the army or the general. I think if you look at the people that are winning these large tournaments, and hey, speaking of large tournaments, we got LVO Las Vegas Open that is this weekend. I think it kicks off tomorrow night.
Wow.
Hey, that's me, and I don't want to land a plane on that forehead. Asshole.
Hey, the optimistic critic landed a plane on that forehead. Welcome back to the show, everyone. 2025,
Well,
here
for
we
being
is.
perfectly frank, it wouldn't be a plane, it'd be a Stormcast Dragon.
Yeah, it would be a Stormcast
Yeah,
dragon.
get it
sure.
right back.
Or a
This is
Corruption
the day.
Overlord's
Oh,
ship. It'd be,
I stand corrected.
it'd be one of
A
those.
gunship, yeah.
Your forehead's so large you can land an ironclad on it.
You know what? That's a good one. That's a good one.
That should go on a shirt.
It is. You know what? Good idea. Good idea.
Hallmark
And you might be able to find some of those shirts over on.
SigmarSingles.com.
That's right, man. That's right.
Eventually soon.
But yeah, so that's what we're going to be getting into tonight. We're going to be talking about that, and I think it's going to be an interesting topic to kind of warm up. And because what I want to do too is, I was talking with some people that are affiliated with LVO before the show today, and just to cut the story straight, we talked about a lot of the armies that are expected to be good. And there's some surprising ones that I think over the next couple of weeks we want to talk about on the show.
Yeah.
I think there's some armies, we kind of talked about it briefly online. I'm not going to blow my wad and let everybody know what the conversation was, but I think some of them kind of surprised me. Because I think when we're talking about getting into armies and playing different armies throughout, a general's handbook or, at least for a little while or something like that, I think it's important to kind of look at why people play those armies. Are you a meta chaser, or are you playing it because you like the way the models look, or anything in between? Because the example that I like to use, I'm playing a version of my Sons of Behemoth that are mostly baby giants, man crushers.
Yeah.
I'm not thrilled with that model, but you know what? The days of running the 4 Mega Gargants are over.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to do that in this edition. But I think having, if you're going to be running 8 or 9 baby giants, you got a better chance of board coverage and winning the games. And so I think that's the most important thing.
I feel like it's different for older players who've been having their armies and new players who just started playing.
Absolutely.
All right.
Because we're just coming in with a new perspective, and we just started, we just built our armies, we just started, so it's easier for us to stick with one army because that's all we know.
That's good.
And for you guys, you have choices
Well, it's
because
like-
you know multiple armies and what they do and what's more fun,
Well, so any life
that
skill,
was-
you get proficient in what you got, and then you expand from there.
right.
You know what? That's a good point. I never really thought. I guess from a new player standpoint, you're playing with your Daughters of Cain and you're coming into it.
I'm
And,
playing with something.
but you're, woohoo! But you're already looking at.
Join me on stage, and we're playing later, folks.
But you wanna know something? Warhammer ADHD has
Right.
already got the grip on her because you're already looking at one army.
I'm looking at multiple armies.
Slanesh was the one you were talking about the other
was my
day.
next
So
one.
that
Yeah.
definitely seems like a Camille army.
Yeah.
Well, okay, and here's what I'll say though. I have not played Slanesh, but it's a
From sticks
finesse-
and bows to whips and chains.
Yes. It's a finesse army. It's a fast, potentially hard-hitting
But I feel like
finesse army, and so I haven't played it, but one of the guys in our group, Joseph,
Mm-hmm.
has played them, and yeah, there's definitely some parallels there,
Uh-huh.
and the models have some similarity as well. So absolutely, I could see that.
I have no right to change my army for the next 6 months because I have not played enough of my daughters.
Yeah.
But there's I'm just.
But a
That
proper Sigmar or Fantasy or 40k player would have probably already bought a handful of models.
I'm just saying, Slanesh makes most sense going from daughters to Slanesh.
Because of the- you're talking about because of the storyline.
Yeah, the story,
Yeah.
the lore.
I mean,
Yeah, that makes sense.
I'm still excited at the schism that's happening, that they finally touched on when the Crone Seer came out. So
Yeah.
there's probably going to be some overlap. Maybe we'll see.
Do you ever think daughters are going to move over to, like a portion of daughters can move over to chaos?
I think it's entirely possible.
Yeah,
Right now, there's the
with the regiments of renown being able to play from destruction to chaos
Correct.
and bouncing around, there's probably going to be a daughter's regiment in chaos.
I mean,
True.
technically, I could do that right now. So I could take a regiment of renown that's chaos and put it in Daughters of Cain. I
Right.
don't know why I would do that, but I definitely could see that happening.
Right.
Where because there's already the schism that's going to happen between the witch elves and the snakes.
Right.
Marathi and then the Crone Seer, but also I can see another portion, embracing Slanesh or something. And
The optimistic critic, man, Draftkey, he puts on there, he goes, it always makes sense to leave order and join chaos.
Yes, it's true. It's true.
Actually,
But he also has a good point with the competitive side. If you do competition and not play just with friends, you gotta take the points into consideration.
Sure. I agree with that. But that goes back to the question, do you want to just play the game, or do you want to win while playing the game?
Right.
And I think a lot of it boils down to, okay, I'll give you a great example, Seraphon.
Yeah.
I'm going to kind of hedge my bets on the topic for next week. But the thing is that Seraphon's one of those armies that the majority of people that want to play a competitive, really good army don't play because the models aren't very painted. That is a painted army on the table. Isn't that aesthetically pleasing? And that's not my opinion. That's just what I've heard from other players. Now we got a guy in our club, Aaron, that plays Seraphon.
Right.
I'd like to hear his standpoint, his input on it. But a lot of people don't play the army simply by the way it looks, which
is funny because I actually think Seraphon looks pretty cool.
yeah, well,
That does look pretty cool.
and I think
Also,
okay
I don't
then,
think I
but
don't
then
play
but
them.
you guys are playing them because obviously or not playing them for whatever reason.
Yeah, like they look cool, but I don't think the play style is
Oh, you know what? I think you're going to be surprised. We're going to touch on that next week because I kind of want to make sure. I want to get my thoughts together, but after looking at some stuff with the Army today, some of the synergies, some of the things you can do with that Army, I think a lot of people are sleeping on Seraphon right now.
I haven't
would
even looked at it.
concur having the chaos go away. I have looked at. I know I bought a bunch of those fleshier courts, which I do intend to paint, but it seems like it's an Ushran or nothing kind of army, and I don't
Right.
like
Right.
the way the hero points work.
Oh, yeah.
But that being said, the way I was looking at Seraphon is it could play a lot like the way that I play Beast of Chaos, where it can be fast and hard hitting. But the difference being there is you can use it more of a hammer and anvil, where I use more of my BOC like a pincer army. But as a hammer and anvil, you can have your slan and all your skinks and a couple of Croxigar, and then you can have your fast Saurus cavalry.
Yeah.
With a very angry, what does they call that? Old one?
Oh, yeah.
The old one
Yeah.
on the
Yeah.
Carnosaur or whatever. Yeah, that
Leading the charge on the other side. You wouldn't need
he
that many
slaps.
models to cause a ton of damage.
Right. But I think
And plus you get the speed
No,
that
go
is
on.
all 12 and 10 and 12 inch moves, something like that.
right.
Go on.
No, go ahead.
Because I'm going to change topics, so go ahead, finish
Oh,
your
well,
thought
that's
on
my
this
only
topic.
point. And we're gonna get to the meat and potatoes of the show right now in a minute. But I just wanted to say that because I think for the most part, I think a lot of people lose sight on the competitive part of the game. Like I'm not thrilled that my son's Behemoth army is a bunch of man crushers running around. But the fact of the matter is that that's going to give that army the best opportunity to win. And I think you have to think out of the box sometimes. I think a lot of times gamers.
Yep.
I think gamers think out of the box to a certain extent, but I think when it comes to like holding their nose and playing something they probably don't want to play in lieu of the fact that it's going to help them win, they don't want to do that.
So
Right.
I will agree definitely to your point. Just because again, my favorite army, Dar's Kane. I've been playing them through 4 editions. This has been comparing them to how they were originally.
Ladies, you can find Dustin at SigmarSingles.com. That is commitment right there.
And it's a long beard.
He's got a cuckoo clock hidden in there somewhere.
Yep. But no, like it's been challenging learning how to play Dar's Kane in this edition because especially with the amount of damage and rend that's flying around. And it's been challenging because I literally cannot play the army exactly like I used to. I can, there'll be some combinations that are similar, but it's been challenging and also very rewarding to learn how to play them in this edition because they changed. They didn't just change the army rules or whatever. They changed a lot of war scrolls.
Yeah, right,
There's some
right.
that have been didn't change too much. A lot of them Dar's Kane radically changed.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's definitely been interesting.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that just goes back to the point where, we talk about why we're getting, and we're going to be getting into this here in just 1 minute, but why do we get into these armies? Why do we play them? Why do we not play them? Why do people change armies? I think that looking at the year right now, and we're still fairly well, I wouldn't say, we're still learning the game to a certain extent. I think the General's Handbook that we have in our hands right now is going to extend us through next July.
Yeah.
And I think we have a lot of time to really hunker down with one army, learn it, get good at it.
That's why I said 6 months for me before I even think of getting a new army. At
There you
least.
go.
I mean,
There you go. Yeah,
Till
I
like
agree.
June or July. Till isn't there
Well, the
What's
new
in,
next General's
like,
Handbook
June?
will come out around
Yeah.
July.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's gonna be perfect. then.
Which, I mean, that's the other thing is, we've had the same Journal's Handbook for, almost 6 months, but just the last Battle Scroll update that they had,
For sure.
I feel, which I feel like we can definitely touch on, because we were talking about it for like 2 weeks. Just the 2 honor guard things they added radically changed the meta.
All right.
As much as I hate using that word, but
Well, it's true. It's true. But all right, man, we're gonna go back on the other
Wait.
side and we're gonna get into it.
Just a quick question. I know you just got a game in after a while. How are you feeling?
Good. I'm actually feeling really good.
Bill, you too. You got a game in, right?
Mine was a little upsetting because I absolutely ran the table on the poor guy. I
Yeah.
really do.
Yeah, we heard about it. I played Z right after you did.
Beast of Chaos is just rowdy. It's in a great place to take it away. And I did the Vestigors never got into combat. It was just my hammer unit, which was Bulgors, a Gorgon, and a Doom Bull, annihilated the entire army.
Well,
And a bunch of Ungor Raiders shut down the Knolls.
welcome back, guys. I just wanted a quick recap.
So
I know you guys
it wasn't fair to
wanted
him at
play.
all. It wasn't like I was rolling greater either. It was just
Right.
I
Just did
I
your
just know how to
thing.
shut down Skaven. It wasn't really a fair game for him.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Hey,
it's
you
too
win
bad.
some-
If he would have got his little rattling gun or Gisele's out, Giselle, then it would have been a totally different game. But you gotta, with the way my army works, you gotta put that stuff on the board. You gotta
Right.
blast away before I
Right.
get to you.
Yeah, well, I'm sure he learned. All right,
Stay for some great commercials, guys. We're about to.
we'll be right back.
2025, a year of cultural refinement, intellectual pursuit, and yet somehow Slaphead and Booger Boy persist. Let us examine why you simply mustn't indulge in this debacle of a program. First, it's like watching paint dry, but somehow more chaotic. Imagine a paint roller peacefully painting a wall, then suddenly, boom, an explosion of glitter and confetti. Yes, precisely that level of nonsense. Next, Slaphead's head is so reflective, it's now a Class M planet identified by NASA. Picture his shiny bald head orbiting Earth, a new celestial object. Then there's Booger Boy's jokes, so bad they're now classified as biological hazards. I kid you not, a hazmat team would burst in with air horns and contamination signs. The theme song, banned by 5 countries for excessive use of kazoo. Imagine a court scene, the judge sternly declaring, "The kazoo has been found guilty of public disturbance." And let's not forget the show has more filler than a gas station hot dog. Visualize a cartoonish hot dog swelling unnaturally with mustard and relish. The plot twists, so predictable even my cat called them out. Picture a smug cat watching TV, nodding knowingly, remote in paw. Oh, their fan club, just Booger Boy in a wig pretending to be different fans. He's putting on different disguises, holding signs saying, #1fan. Finally, watching it will make you smarter, because you'll want to study instead. Imagine someone quickly picking up a textbook on quantum physics after just a few minutes of the show. In conclusion, if you wish to preserve your dignity, your intelligence, and indeed your very will to live, avoid Slaphead and Booger Boy in 2025. Unless, of course, you enjoy the absurd, in which case, my dear, you're hopeless already. Slaphead and Booger Boy, the train wreck you can't stop watching. Coming soon to a screen near you against better judgment.
All right, man, we are back. Let's get into this. So, all right, gang, let's get into this. So, I think it's important to really settle down in an army, and I suck at it. But as I've gotten to be an older gamer and I've been playing, a little bit more consistently with one army, the importance of playing one army between generals' handbooks. And I know that that's like an anathema. That's almost an impossible thing to do.
Well, it's important to play a primary and a secondary. The secondary is like, I can't take one more game of this. I want to play this one just for shits and giggles.
Correct. Yes.
And then you're like, I really like my primary army and going right back.
Yep.
It's to give you that appreciation for it.
Yep.
Right. So I mean I think the thing that a lot of people miss out on is, when you're not getting down, everybody can play an army from the rules, right? Rules are kind of like onion layers to even your own army, right? You read the book, you got all the war scrolls, everything else, and you kind of know what they do from like a 5,000-foot view. But you're not really getting yourself battened down into that army unless you get. A lot of people say you got to get about 12 games in with one army before you really know what the heck you're doing with that army.
You got to understand what your composition is as well, because the way the rules work with each individual unit, each individual model, and you got to understand how it plays against other armies.
Yes.
Right.
So, and again, you can't build a list to win them all, so to speak. But But it's the way you actually build the army composition, the way you put it together, where you have it run 2 regiments, 3 regiments, 4 regiments in some case.
Right.
Drops, does first or second turn matter? A lot of that's really important, and you only find out through gameplay.
Yeah, but I think a lot of times you take these armies that are 4-1 armies, 5-0 type armies, and you wonder why somebody goes 2-3 or 3-2 in an event, and you ask them, well, they've only been playing the army for 2 months or 3 months, or they just picked it up. And I think that there's, like I said, I think there's such a learning curve with any army you play, even something like my dummy destruction type armies, my ogres or my giants. You know, those are numbskull armies. But I don't want to. I think enough in my day job. I don't want to think when I play this game.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Well, I guess the kicker of it is you can win with what they like to refer to as a smooth brain army. But
yes, exactly.
The point of that being there is sometimes better to charge than not to charge. Better not to charge. Better to sit
Right.
for one
But-
turn. Better to give the turn away. Better not to.
But my own point is, even with those armies that are like destruction, a little more simple, like a Sons of Behemoth army, has a hell of a lot less of a learning curve than, say, you know, a Seraphon army, or say a Lumineth Realm Lords, you know, army or something like that. But there's still that learning curve, and I think if you don't really have that idea, and then, you know, I would always say then you have the innate rules about a certain army that you have to understand, and that only comes from multiple games.
Yeah.
But then there's also the what they call the tactics of the army.
Mm-hmm.
You know, how do you take an army and be able to maneuver things, play to the battle tactics, get around, you know, the board.
Well,
Those are things that happen
You
in
also
games.
gotta learn your drops and stuff. You know, when do you drop
Positioning.
the certain positioning?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right.
Ambush, you're dropping
Yep.
rules from the graveyard, from Azir, from the border edge,
Right.
whatever
Right.
the case may be.
Right, and I think a lot of people miss out on that. You know, when they you know they get into the hobby, they get a general's handbook, they get their army, and then 2 months later they're like, you know, I don't really like the errata changes, or I don't really like the way that this particular unit plays.
I couldn't tell you how many times, I don't mean to interrupt Dustin, but how many times where I'm like, that sucks, they ruined it, and then I start thinking about it, I'm like, I gotta stop being so
Okay.
immediately
Oh,
judgmental.
100%. I mean,
Right.
that happens all the time. I mean, I had a little bit of that. Again, me always talking about Darzakane, but it's like, wow, they so radically changed these war scrolls. You know, mainly like the Bloodwrack Medusa or the
Right.
Blood Sisters. Those are like my favorite units.
Right.
So a lot of this edition so far has been learning, okay, well, what does this unit do now that it didn't do, so on and so on.
Right.
Okay, this functions a little differently, but I can still make it work. You know,
Right.
for example, Darzakane, they have Crit Mortal
Yep.
on their attacks. They only have 2 attacks instead of 3, but they do 2 damage.
Mhm.
So, potentially higher damage output than they previously could do. But you're kind of relying on having to roll crits, because I'm not just going to automatically throw 10 mortal wounds at you.
And see, that's one of the things I love about the best category unit is because you want to take that all off defense, that crit or exploding 6s is now exploding 5s up.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
again, stuff like that where you gotta know your army, you gotta be as you're playing, you gotta remember those rules, and that's the hardest part about this game is remembering your own rules.
You're talking about
Yep.
mastery of the army.
100%.
I mean, and that comes with time, and you know, and I really believe that. I don't even know who I heard it from, but I want to say it was somebody that was pretty reputable as far as winning games. I don't remember who it was now because it was a long time ago, but I actually did that once. I actually stuck with an army. For my Beastman, as a matter of fact, my Beast of Chaos.
Yeah.
I played 12, 13, 14 games with them, and I knew that army like the back of my hand, and it was just
Yeah.
it was almost like auto winning. It's just set the army up
That's-
and win the game.
Right. Played
That's
this
why-
guy before, know what I gotta do to win. Played that guy before, knew what I gotta win. Played that army, know what I gotta do to
My
win.
my strategy is to play, since we have a group, play everyone at least once before I change armies.
Yeah.
So
And, you
we'll
know,
play
Even on-
everybody's
even on the
armies.
Discord, once in a while, you can ask them because they might be playing the same army all the time. Be like, you know what?
Right.
I want to play that secondary army, and you'd be like, hey, I want to play against that secondary army that we don't see very often.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, but at least one army per person. I want to play their first or second army, whatever. I want to play everyone once because my ADHD, I would have like 7 armies, but
Well, join the club because I think most gamers.
I can't do it.
I don't know what the statistics are. There's been no study on that, but I mean, let's say we say it's
Do it.
7 out of 10, 8 out of 10 gamers.
Yeah. It's unless it's your very first army, most people, I want to say, have 2 or 3.
But take
Right,
Camille
but
for
that's-
instance.
Right.
She just got into Daughters of Cain,
I
and
don't-
she's already like, hey, that's slam
It
X.
sounded so appealing to me, like the
Especially
lore
now, the
especially.
regiment of
And-
renown, especially if she's got an easy way in. Because again, part of the deal of efficiency and list building is you're going to have to figure out, hey, dollar for dollar, what can I get for maximum amount, max ability if possible.
You know, that's actually not a bad idea.
Max
You can actually
possibility
put the
of winning.
Slanesh regiment into your army.
Correct. You can play with it, see how it feels, and then pop the toy back out, as we're saying.
It's just we're
don't
still talking about
encourage-
Slanesh, aren't we?
You guys
I
are
guess it
supposed
doesn't
to
matter
tell
at that
me. You're
point.
supposed to tell me
Silver
just stick
Tower.
to Daughters of Cain. Come on.
Daughters of Cain. Right.
Thank you.
But I think so. So what we're
Jesus.
talking about too is why
You're
that's important.
Bad
We're talking-
influences. All three of you.
Always.
I'm a good influence.
You're the only one, Dustin.
You're,
I
you're
love
just
you.
a more subtle bad influence.
This is more subtle.
Yeah, Dustin's kind of like boiling the frog when it comes to like bad influence.
I'll tell you about bad influence. I made that cuckoo joke. My first thought was, if he's going to tongue punch a fart box, there's a cuckoo into the ass.
Well, that was me too. But,
You know, I'm going to keep that to myself. Another opportunity is a rhythm.
Well,
That's Dustin. How does it work?
now.
That's right.
Anywho, that
But
got
I
said.
think when you move past like you're understanding your army and you're getting good at it, then you start to do things where you say, oh, you know what? Maybe I'm going to add in like Daughters of Cain. Maybe I'm going to take out a unit of witch elves and I'll put in some Canary. So you get more efficiency, maybe some better ideas based on, like you were talking one time about building your army around the battle tactics.
Yeah.
And, so I think you get a little bit more efficient and a little bit more of an ebb and flow with your list building.
Well, and again, it's one of those things where I hate to say it, but a lot of people are in it to win it, so to speak, and that's understandable. My thing is, I don't mind losing a game as long as it was fun and like to the wire. There were no bad rolls. It was just you were that close tactics-wise.
Can I ask you honestly? You're saying
No,
so
you cannot.
You don't mind losing, but like
No.
you don't mind losing like a lot, a little, ever. I mean,
Then my thing is, like, even if I went 0-3, but they were all that close and the opponents were just
If you're
that
learning
much better,
something.
then for me, it's like I can take what I learned there for the next one.
Exactly.
I might not have won at 5. I might not have won a 3-0 tournament, but I might win that 5-0.
See, Pat's big
See,
ego.
So
true.
He's like, I want to win them all.
Yeah, totally.
Now, in the tournament, granted, I want to win, but if I lose by like a, for instance, the last tournament we all played in up in McChesney.
Or no,
Cataclysm.
Yeah.
Like when I lost to Rob, it was I had a lot of bad dice rolls on my point, but then I figured it out afterwards. Like, if I take out these Praetors that I can go get the cars on. If the gears are rolling like that, I'm like, then it'll be a lot more fun game. Now that I know. Now that's on me. Should get more practice in. But I know for the next game is, and then he also knows he has to defend him. So now we're both playing totally different games
Right.
next time around. So for me, it's not that bad. It wasn't fun losing at the time, but
So,
the thought afterwards, like, all right, how do I
Don't
win?
be your short pants. Sometimes you'll lose.
the best losses I've had are ones where, first of all, the game was really close. We're talking a handful of points. But then also, it wasn't just, and I got shot off the board. It was like, okay, we were both working.
Those do suck.
Yeah. But like,
Yeah.
and,
those, yeah.
or games where just the dice are against you the entire game. You can't
Which is
really
about
do anything.
50% of your
I
game.
will-
50% of my games. But no, like some of the best games are okay. I lost, but I have now learned the secret sauce of my opponent's army.
Right.
So next time I go up against this, I know how to deal with it.
Yeah.
So
I feel
and
like-
especially if it's we're talking 1 or 2 points.
That's what I love.
That
about
doesn't feel like a
Chaos
loss.
Spawn army, though.
I-
Oh my god, was that great! I'm gonna shoot this unit. You're gonna shoot that model. What? It's model for model. No. That was a
Yeah.
great. That my KO game was the best one ever. What do you mean I gotta shoot one model? You gotta shoot one. There's 18. Have fun.
Go ahead and
Oh, yeah.
locate
Oh, by
all
the
your
way,
attacks.
if they get to your boat, they're gonna sink it. Good luck.
Anytime I want to win is when I'm playing against the short pants. Just for a fuck you moment.
Okay, right. So,
You know, fair
Anything,
enough.
anyone else, I can take it as a learning lesson. But you're short pants. You're an asshole. I am fucking devouring this shit.
Well,
good.
I'm gonna
I love
win.
that attitude.
Thankfully, no one in our group is a short.
Not in our group, but like if I'm playing
so-
against.
Oh, they're out
you
there.
do.
You wait till you
have
get
to
to your
get
first
you-
tournament. They
yeah,
are
you
out
have to
there.
get you your
I
first
don't know. I've
tournament.
seen
When
boys
is
in
that-
club wear jorts before.
Brawl in the
Jordan
Hall
Boulevard.
is our next tournament.
Brawl in the Halls. Well, Brawl in the Hall's one. Yeah, Brawl in the Hall's coming up, guys. Head over to Brawl in the Hall on the Facebook page and or
Sign up.
the grimdarklive.com.
Is it May or June?
June.
June.
And I'm so glad you're so well informed.
Yes.
We're
Recovery from the holidays.
yeah.
Okay?
Tickets are going to be going on sale for Brawl in the Hall. Speaking of that, in February, so more to come on that
February,
one.
If anyone
But
wants
so
to
here's
play
the thing.
against
But what do
me,
you say to when you're playing and you're already kind of learning this being a new player with your daughters? You're getting to know not only the lore but the mechanics, but and your skill is getting better.
Right.
You're starting to understand, like you said, where to place things.
well, if you let me read the general's handbook ahead of time, I would have played even better the first time I played.
Wait a minute. How the hell is this my fault?
You
Hold
were
on.
explaining
Time
the
out.
game without like just letting me read about it.
It's like the Henry Cavill meme.
He hid all the
so this is what
fucking
this guy did.
secrets.
No, back up. No. So this is what. All right, sorry. We got to start at the beginning.
Yesterday I was going through General's handbook and it was explaining the freaking rules.
You still
and
have
it
in
was
my
like,
joke.
No.
Anyway, but I could have known
Like
the
an
game
angel
like
eating a hot dog.
6 months
The
ago and
books
played
have
the first.
always been here.
Yeah, but
Like,
you
they're
didn't
everywhere.
say that they explain rules. Like,
It says General's Handbook and Core Rule Book on the cover.
Do you need marriage counseling? You can go to sigmarsingles.com and talk to the nobler of your choice, who will give you all the information on what not to do. We'll see you at www.sigmarsingles.com.
Jesus. Do
That is
not
funny.
game with your loved ones. You will get irritated.
Yeah, like hemorrhoids. Yeah,
I mean,
very
you know
much
what they
so.
say about the family that games together.
There's a
They end
better
up on
for you.
divorce court.
Oh,
I mean, here's what I'll say about Age of Sigmar, but also games in general. I'm the kind of player where I learn by doing.
Thank
So
you.
because I can read the rules, of the game, okay, but then once you actually have them in practice, then it's like, oh, now I understand how these words actually like apply to the actual game.
It is
Sure.
amazing how an English company who supposedly speaks the English language has so many abrupt changes in the English word.
Well, I mean,
It's a bit like they don't understand the Queen's English, you know? like you're trying to say a ball game out of Manchester, and then none of these fucking blokes can read a fucking thing and say, it's like that bastard over there who's got the lion maze on his head. Right?
You did a very good job.
Right now we're just talking about the beaches.
Oh, jeez. Do your Russian accent. Lithuanian.
What do you mean, Russian? I don't do no Russian accent.
Don't do no Russian
What are you talking about? What is
No
this
Russian.
Russian accent?
Take
Take clothes off. I teach you lesson.
Хорошо.
All right. We're back, guys. Sorry, the drugs are wearing off. We're getting back.
We sniff glue.
Sniffing glue over here.
I didn't know glue came in a powder.
Blue chew.
No, but I think one of the reasons why I'm also winding this part of the thing. I don't know where the fuck we went to, guys. I'm completely off. No, we sure the hell did.
Then we went to the weird place.
But we have.
How'd you end up at the weird place?
Albuquerque.
The Eagles was playing. It was Hotel California. I made bad decisions.
Here's Egan.
No Russian.
Remember, no Russian.
No Russian.
Except for the guy in the bathroom, Egan. He came out and he said, "I finish."
I give him the choppy chop.
So, but
lost
I think the other thing too is,
all.
what happens when you get to know your army and you're sticking with that one army between General's Handbook. You got to remember that's a year, folks. You're going to be able to play that army for a year, and I think when you get into that army, you got things like you understand strategy a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
You also understand timing. You're a better opponent, I think, because you get your repetition down with that army. Now, I don't know what the real answer is, but I think that if you had an army that you built to maybe 2,500 points, even though games are played at 2,000, that would give you that other 500 points for options.
Look at you upselling GW.
Yes.
Get in there, folks.
I have
Buy
to-
that plastic.
I have to answer someone on the chat. Yes, this is a parole hearing.
It is absolutely a parole hearing.
Oh, this is awesome. We're going to jail.
No, here's the thing. You take someone like Grandson of
Don't drop
Behemoth,
the
our good buddy. This guy goes through
That's the weird flavor you always got.
This guy goes through armies like shit through a tin horn. I mean, we love you, but I mean, it's amazing. This guy goes through armies. I mean, he's
What
buying
army
and
is he
selling
on now? What did he play last week?
Orc war clans
Oh,
and
wasn't he-
Skaven. Prior to that, he was.
In his defense, he kept the Skaven.
He
Yeah.
still has a
He
Skaven.
still has the Skaven.
He did.
Yeah, he cuddles with them at night.
He's
He
turning
like,
over
piles them
new
all
leaf.
in bed and yeah.
Those fuckers are little compared to him.
Well, that's my whole point. Yeah, he was picking them out of different orifices at the game store.
I thought it
no.
came out of his ass cheek.
But wow, why did we even go there? I don't even know you people. But I think that this guy goes through a lot of armies.
He
Back to the
loves his
topic.
friends.
I think this thing is I think the point about it is you want to be that better opponent. I think that helps the community. I think how long do you think a gamer on average? Don't use Grandson of Behemoth as an example at all. You're not allowed to use him but how long do you think an average gamer sticks with an army?
3/4 of GHB.
So you think 3 months? No, that'd be 3 quarters. That'd be 3 months.
3 months.
Like I
yeah.
said, I think that they typically have a primary army, and they have a secondary and a partial third that they play with on and off with that primary.
You think so?
Well, because of the paint, because you gotta have everything painted. So
I don't have enough
a lot of these are continual work in progress.
I'm broke.
So a lot of them are always a continual work in progress. So they'll be like, well, I got part of this painted, part of that, but this army, you hear a lot of tournaments, but this army's painted.
Right.
You know, what I will say about, Army ADD is, at least for me, some of the other armies I dabbled in outside Daughters of Cain was because they're the hobby army that I'm learning to play.
Well, that would be the secondary army or the tertiary.
Yeah.
Somebody
that's
in
just
the-
what I'm saying. I think sometimes you will have people that are learning to play an army just because it's their hobby army, not necessarily because it's what's good in the meta or whatever. But yeah, I would say your average gamer, could probably stick with an army for a year maybe.
8 months. Somebody in the
and
chat
then,
said.
Yeah. Grand Son of
ADD
months is
takes
8
over.
months.
Yeah.
That's probably about right. Like I said,
I think it's less than that.
I think it's
I really do.
6.
it depends on how you count it. Because again, if we're talking religiously, definitely not 8 months. If you're talking with a
6.
secondary, maybe a third, 6 to 8, probably.
6, yeah.
Oh man, I was going to say 4 to 5. I'm saying 4 to 5. I think the average gamer sticks. Now here's the thing. I think the guys and the girls that are winning NashCon, LVO, Armed Forces Day, now called Brawl in the Hall. I think those are the people that are sticking with an army. Except for you whack job. You can play an army for like 4 minutes and you can go
Don't
3 or 2
sell
or
me
4
out.
1.
Don't sell me out.
But
It
I
also
think
depends on the time you have to put into your army.
that's it. That's
because,
true.
And also finances,
Yeah, because
That-
there is a portion of this game that's pay to play.
Exactly. So I think it depends.
Yeah, but I think
For
it's
me,
less than that.
I just have to get my money's worth.
Well, a lot of players do, though. They'll buy, because again, obviously cost of entry is a big barrier, but they'll buy partially finished armies from other people who had the same problem online.
eBay, yeah.
They'll turn around and they'll eBay or Facebook or whatever the case may be again and again and again.
I also have looked at some armies that I just want to paint and put it in a case.
Display case.
Just display it.
Yeah.
Because I want to get into the hobby side.
Actually,
as well. I don't
you've
wanna
already
do
done
much.
some painting. It's actually pretty good. It's actually
Like
I said, I
it
paint
was
like
just
shit.
to just to try out the colors. Just because I wanted to see what would look good,
Was
like
it-
on the
was it
wings of my
contrast paint?
Medusa. What?
Was it contrast paint?
Was it? I'm not sure.
yeah.
what
No,
that
no,
was.
no. It was standard
No.
paint.
Oh, standard.
Yeah.
Regular,
I mean, just talking
but anyway,
on that
just-
though. I mean,
I wanted to see what looks good because I don't want to put something on my miniatures and then it'll look like shit.
oh yeah.
So I
mean,
just wanted to see, like, do I use white primer, black
But
primer?
let
just,
me ask you a
Yeah.
question. Maybe the people could be switching out their armies because they get into a paint project with the army. They don't.
Never
It's
finish.
too tedious,
Mm-hmm.
and then they dump
That's
it.
where I was
don't know,
going
because
next.
There would never be a single Chaos player ever. If that was the case.
or yeah. I mean,
Well,
look,
I mean,
look, I
also-
paid
After about the 15th hour of painting gold trim, you start getting a little
years ago, I painted about 1,000 nobblers, and I was beginning to lose my sanity.
That's
I still
bad,
have them.
by
They're
the
all
way, the
inside
hot
the
lady.
nerd bunker right over there. But
yeah,
I've
you-
almost
you
lost.
You only have 1,000 though, because you sold the other
Yep.
4,000.
The other 1,600.
Patrick,
Yes.
you have to introduce yourself. Who's that hot chick with the savage orcs?
Yeah, there you go.
Say
there
hi.
you go. Go,
You're
go
the
ahead,
hot
wave,
lady.
dear. Say hello to everybody.
You say hello. They're talking about you.
No,
Sexy lady.
grandson of Behemoth, you saucy flirt, you. But yeah, I think that's a lot of people. I think it's 4 to 5 months. I think that's what people do. I think they don't keep their armies. And yeah, there's a great comment that people recycle their armies to buy another one off of eBay. But that still tells me, okay, you get sick of an army, you sell an army,
Well-
or you lose with an army, you sell an army. But I don't think. I think it's. Guys, we're talking average here.
If you are playing and you don't see yourself losing, you shouldn't be playing. Because you're gonna lose. You can't have a perfect winning streak. Nobody
But
has
that's a
perfect-
reason why some people do get rid of their army. They,
Just because they can't win.
You should
well,
never
they lose a
assume
game,
that
they lose a big game, they lose a couple. I mean, there was a guy at a tournament that sold his army at the end of the
yeah.
tournament.
In the end of
Yeah,
the tournament.
I remember hearing that.
Well, I also think like it was in the chat. They said they don't like their paint job and they sell it.
Sure.
Well,
You
which
know, that is also
yeah.
fair. As they improve, they realize I would have done X, Y, and Z way different. And then somebody who just wants to play but doesn't like the hobby painting the building
Right.
side.
Yeah, that's legit.
I mean, you can look at the
I
practice.
mean, to each his own, right?
Well,
There's
sure.
other reason people change their armies. For me, if I lose because of my army, I would never sell it. Just
You'd improve upon it, right?
improve upon it.
That's
Yeah,
one
correct.
attitude. But there's a lot of different
Just-
personalities in the hobby. You know, a lot of
Just
people.
for me personally, that doesn't make sense, and I wouldn't do it because I want to just be better.
Sure. Yeah,
Like,
no.
you know.
But I mean, I get it. I get the
Short
whole.
pants.
Right. But I get the
Really
whole thing.
fits.
Okay, variety. You want 3 armies or whatever. But again, to me, in my mind, and maybe it's because I come from a competitive background and different environments in my life. I try to be as competitive as I can, and look, I'm a hypocrite right now. I'm a lying piece of shit right now because I was the biggest switch up on an army, buy another army before the army. I did that crap all the time, and I was never any good in an army I played. I never got any good. Well, since I stopped doing that,
Yes.
my gaming ability has just skyrocketed because I actually settled down and said, okay, and then we have a couple of guys in our club, like, you know, that actually I kind of watched, observed, do that. I'm like, okay, you with your Beastmen, Draftkey with his Slaves of Darkness. You know, there's other people that do that in the club that I'm like, okay, they're settling down an army.
I think
That's how you win
He
tournaments.
sticks with how he's running the army right now.
Yeah.
You know, obviously, they get a lot of practice. I think he'd be top 10 in North America for that army.
I don't doubt it at all. But I think that's another thing you get to when you stick with that one army and you actually settle down in it and you get to know all those different onion layers.
Yeah,
you
all
can
the
adapt
ins
to the
and
meta.
outs, and you
Right.
can you can do a lot of things because again, in my mind, I know a lot of people say I don't care if I lose a bunch of games. Me, I want to go commit a felony if I lose a game. I'm a shit loser. But-
No, you're not.
Well,
Not since you met me.
no, true.
That's weird bedroom talk.
I cry a lot more.
Thank
no, I'm
you.
kidding.
Yeah.
But
Okay, old second old.
Missionary cry stash.
that's right. I got to keep the show quick. I'm sick and old. But
He
the
might
thing
not
is,
be here next week, guys.
yeah,
I'm
exactly.
kidding.
Look at all this white. I think the thing
Respectfully.
He
that
comes
for
back
me,
next year with a black beard.
Blackbeard.
Wait, next year? You're breaking up with me?
Oh, sorry, I said next week.
Oh.
Said accent. Said Chicago.
Blackbeard. They're reminds me of the
Anyway.
midget pirate that walked in the bar with the steering wheel between his legs.
Yeah,
The bartender says, "Hey, buddy, what's with the steering wheel?" Midget goes, "Arr, drives me
Driving me
nuts." You can write that one down.
Yep.
What do you say, Peggy?
Stay on traffic. Okay.
Stay on what?
Stay in traffic.
That was like here. It's the retarded
I
Star
get
Wars.
it,
Stay on traffic.
H.
Yeah. No, I think that's the biggest thing. I think that's the biggest thing. I think that
we're
you
gonna
have
get banned.
you can adapt to the meta. You can get better at it. And I think that was my biggest problem from personal experience. And I was that guy that was switching out armies every 3 months, every 4 months. And I think that that's probably more accurate because I think the people that are winning LVO, I bet you at the end of this weekend on Sunday, whatever cold meatloaf eating bastard wins LVO,
That's what everyone's gonna
I
be
bet if you
buying.
looked at that person's, if you want a best gross pairings, you look the person up, I bet whatever army they win with, they've been playing that fucker since middle 3rd edition, beginning of 4th edition.
Probably.
I honestly think that's what they've been doing.
But then the problem is you'll have someone that'll look up and see that list and like, oh, that's what I need to buy. And then, of course, the problem is they don't know how to
Pilot it. I hate that phrase.
I almost said pilot, and then I didn't, and then you said it for me. So
I did. I hate. I'm a
but-
pilot of my army. No, you're
No,
not.
but
You're a
you don't know how
brutal-
to run the army.
There you
It's
go.
like, oh, yeah, here's the medal-winning army, okay, but you don't know how to use it, so
Yeah, I mean, because really, there's a difference between knowing your army and knowing how to play it and having the skill to play it, right?
correct. Yes,
I guess the term would be to command your army.
command. Yes,
As you
Oh,
know,
that's worse.
command.
Command your army, dude. It's plastic dollies on a table. You're not piloting or commanding anything.
You,
You can barely make
Hey.
it to the bathroom in time if you got a break.
Hey,
from the
what
game.
word should we use in
Ogre,
that?
Mr. Ogre, calm down.
Mr. I mean, he's mofo, so.
What?
Yeah, right.
Oh, fuck.
Oh,
You don't know Mo? You're gonna be no Mo.
You are, you're very passionate about what we used to call ourselves.
What,
Okay.
what
In
should
our-
we use?
I am.
Okay,
I am,
how about this?
I am I call myself, since I'm Daughters of Cain, I am the master of my army.
That's better.
Master
Okay,
of
so
that.
but there, there are certain phrases like, okay, here's one you hate: moist.
Stop!
See? See? See, that's my whole point. There are right.
I don't know why so many women hate the M word.
But right, there are so many things like I don't want to talk about a moist muffin.
Oh my God! It's getting worse.
I'll never forget.
Gooey muffin?
What is it?
Gooey muffin?
A gooey muffin.
No, so anyway.
I've seen that movie. Maybe
does
that might be something I could do.
Hey, don't talk about my mother. What was I gonna say? So yeah, I think it just should be different to each army. Whatever fits the lore of your army. A master of daughters.
All right.
Like, and it makes sense.
But there's just something that rattles in my brain where I was like, well, I'm a pilot of my army. No, you're not.
You're the general of your army.
Okay, there you go. General, master, right.
So,
Master Commander.
yeah.
You gotta say it like that, though. You have to say it like that.
It'd be almost as bad.
I already ordered your Napoleon hat.
Is
for
it?
you.
Yeah.
All right, we got a few more on this topic,
the red
but
green hat, the old field operator hat.
Yes.
If you guys don't know who red green is, shame on you.
he was that orange guy, right?
You son of a bitch.
All right, we're gonna be
I'm
right
out
back.
of here.
We're gonna be right back.
Hey there, Age of Sigmar fans. It's 2025 and you know what that means. New year, new army. Picture this. You're in a bustling, chaotic tavern, banners waving New Year, new army, and fireworks lighting up the midnight sky. In the corner, a shiny Stormcast eternal hero strikes a dramatic pose. We are the mightiest of Sigmar's chosen. New year, new glory. Just as you're about to get swept up in his enthusiasm, a boisterous Orc warrior bangs his mug on the table. Oi, join the boys, we smash stuff real good. You can almost hear the tavern walls shaking from his roar. Then a serene, yet slightly creepy dryad from the Sylvaneth treefolk glides over, whispering, "We'll grow on you," as a vine stealthily grabs a drink from the table. You shiver, but before you can process it, a jittery Scarven ratman scurries up. "Come to the Under Empire." Yes. We've got cheese and cunning plans. Cheese and plans. Tempting, right? Just when you think it can't get any crazier, a suave Chaos Demon Prince leans on the bar, tempting you with promises of power and debauchery. We'll make your 2025 unforgettable. Eternally. Could it get any more intense? In the midst of all this chaos, a Free Guild soldier tries to mediate. How about just sticking with the basics? No one appreciates Free Guild anymore, only to be drowned out by everyone else. Poor guy never gets a break. Finally, overwhelmed by all the pitches, you stand up, roll a giant die, and declare, "Let's see what destiny decides." The factions all cheer or groan dramatically as fireworks explode outside the tavern. It's a new year. What army will you conquer the mortal realms with in 2025? Roll the dice, embrace the chaos, and may Sigmar guide you. Or not. Final text. Overlay, Happy New Year from the mortal realms. Choose wisely. So, what's your Age of Sigmar resolution? Drop a comment below and let's chat about it.
All right, we are back, and we're minus Camille. She had to go. She had to leave. I don't know. She said she was going to go get her drink on or something like that. She whispered something in your ear. What did she say when she left?
It had something to do with moist.
There you go. Right. Yeah. 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 Moist. All right. Well, I hope she has a very moist evening, whatever she's doing.
with a real. What is it? Dodge the King. Lisp at the end.
Moist.
But that was her in the background.
From the pisser.
Right from the pisser. Shut up. Yeah, but I think too. It's like so now everyone's like, oh crap, we got to stick with these ugly fuckers.
Yep.
But I think sticking with that army, getting good at that, proficiency in the army is important.
I'm lovely.
But I think too, it's like when you change your armies out a lot, I think that does, limit you on even stuff like community, recognition.
Yeah.
I will bring an interesting fact to the conversation though.
Okay.
A lot of what do they call that from sports? Like kids who play baseball all the time are good, but kids who play baseball, football, soccer typically are better if baseball is their main sport. You know what I'm saying? It's from that cross-lateralization of skills. For some reason, they are better. So that's what I'm saying. If you have a primary and then a small secondary and a smaller third, because then you're getting the feel of a lot of other armies as well. But if you have your primary that you play throughout, and the other one's just kind of to break the tension, so to speak.
You mean like give you a break? I mean, okay, I get that. You want that variety, but I guess in my mind too, and the more that I've
what I'm getting at is you have your primary you play during lot practice. Every once in a while you'll play the other army, and even rarely you'll play the other army. But even tournament-wise, you play your primary. that cross lateralization of skills to some degree. Even better if you're playing, like if your secondary army is the counter basically to your first army, and that is a fact of the game.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, like if you play,
I'm sure most people don't think about
an army and then like a shooting army.
I guess in a way it could help you be a challenge to that gamer on mastering different game mechanics.
If you're playing an army that's rend heavy, and then all of a sudden your secondary army is Nighthaunt, you know what I mean?
Sure.
You figure out how to all right, as Nighthaunt, here's how I beat them. So then as your primary, you're like, I know what this is going to happen. Here's how I mitigate those issues.
And I guess there's some positive to it. I mean, you get someone that it can improve a player's adaptability, right? I mean, you can get somebody that they understand. With understanding different mechanics comes different strategies, different strategic way to play. Maybe you get a different look at that same opponent's army that you just played a week ago or something like that.
Yeah.
So I guess I can see some of the positive in that. But I always go back to the competitive. Maybe that's not the way to do it. Maybe that's not the way to say, yeah, that's how the game's supposed to be played. But I always think that, to me, if you're going to a war meet and we've got a great club. I mean, we're very fortunate.
Absolutely.
We have a huge club.
Absolutely.
We're very consistent on meeting on Saturdays. We got some really great players in our club. So, but I think with that said, I always say to myself, what are these war meets for? War meets are for kind of a dual purpose, right?
First of all, to hang out.
Well, camaraderie with your buddies.
Yes.
But then there's also
secondly,
learn your army, but then prepare for those eventual tournaments.
Yeah, preparing for tournaments. And we've done this, not so much in 4th edition, but we did this a lot in 3rd edition, where, especially when we were trying to learn the new General's Handbook, it's like, all right, everyone, we're all going to do the same mission.
That is nice how we do the dice polls, and then we do the same mission.
When we do that, because then you have 8 different perspectives on one mission.
Well, not only that, if you've got a question about the mission,
yes.
everybody's playing the same thing, so everybody's got their input on it immediately. Yeah.
Trying to figure out
and
how
typically our games are paced very similarly. Anyway.
Yeah, and so I really enjoyed that because it helped me learn the mission because, again, you had 8 different brains approaching it from 8 different ways, and it's like, oh, okay, that makes sense. But yeah, I mean, we're really fortunate that we can.
And I think so. To that point, to me, that's where my brain always goes, and that's why in getting to a point where I've stopped being as much as I can being an ADHD gamer. It's helped me, especially with my ogres. I found different ways to win with that army.
So now that being said, though, are you going to continue playing ogres?
Yes.
In this year, you are.
Yeah, I am. And here's the thing: even though I've talked about Sons of Behemoth, I've talked about getting to a point where I was going to try to, I'm still going to build and hobby that because I think that to me is my itch that scratches that I need another army. But I think if I really boil down and focus on my ogres, my last 5 games with my ogres, I've won big time. And so I've had to really take that army because the army as it was played in 3.0 sucks. If you try to play that army as you did, and even early 4, you're not going to win any games.
And that's how, honestly, I feel like that's been a lot of 4th edition is, hey, here's how I used to play this in 3rd edition. Doesn't work. You have to learn how to play it in 4th edition.
Right.
Which that's been a big thing for me with Daughters of Cain. Again, going back to them, I've had to mess around with my synergies. I'm still taking the same units, but I've been using them in different ways at different times, and that's made all the difference. Because I can't just take a unit of snakes and throw it at my opponent with Mind Razor on it because it's not as reliable as it used to be. But that's been my experience with 4th edition is you kind of everything you learn in 3rd edition you kind of throw out the door.
Well. True, but let me grab a comment off the chats here. I want to ask. This is a good question. Egan puts out, what if you can't do the army justice? Like, what if the army is good, but I'm just shit at playing it? Okay, well then, I guess there's a couple of different points of view there. Okay, you can't do the army justice. What are the variables there? Do you not like the army's aesthetic? Do you not like the way the army mechanics? Are there too many gears? We've talked about this before. My Sons of Behemoth is basically a 2-gear army.
Yeah.
But then if you turn around and you play someone like Lumineth Realm Lords, that's like 12 gears.
Yes.
But a lot of people like having all the bells and whistles to an army.
I guess not to go back to an athletic point of view again as well, because this is not an athletic game. But if you're built like a bodybuilder and you really want to be a runner, you should probably be a bodybuilder.
True. Okay, I get all that. I mean? Yeah.
Then maybe get into sprinting or like some CrossFit stuff where there's very minimal running, but you still get that little bit of running itch.
Yeah, and I get all that, and I think that's fine. to his point, it's like, what are the reasons why you can't do it justice? I think the number one reason why people can't sink into an army is you don't play it enough. Yep. That's number one. I don't mean to be brutal about it, but I think number two to that is once you start playing it enough, then you go, oh man, I don't like the fact that I got to do this to get to that or this to do this. Maybe there's I've heard a lot of people dump an army because there's too many gears to it.
Well, I read a quote today. It said, the beginning is ugly, the middle is messy, and the end is gorgeous. And I think that's the truth about a lot of this. It's ugly when you start. It's messy in the middle because you're kind of fumbling your way through the mechanics, and by the end you got it nailed down. You just got to put the time. There's nothing in life is difficult, but things are tedious.
Good. All right, I think I'm going to ask you. I'll ask you guys both this question individually because what do you think the number one reason?
Oh, I thought you were going to ask me when he was free next Thursday night. So you moisty son of a bitch.
What do you think the number one reason is why people dump an army? Number one
reason is going to be because they don't win games with it.
Okay, but that again, you just described a human being. What type of human being? Tall, short, skinny, fat? I mean, what are we talking about?
I'm moisty short pants.
Okay, they don't win games with it because
I'm going to say
they're dyslexic. They can't read.
Okay,
They don't win games because they don't play it enough. I mean, what do you think the number one? Okay,
I think it's they have expectations of their army working a certain way, barring dice rolls, because believe me, I know that. But they expect their army to work a certain way, perform a certain way, and because they don't have enough of their reps in learning the army, it doesn't perform that way.
Okay, so I thought for a second there what you were referring to was, they're not winning enough with it. Like the old thing that we've always said is they buy that nice great unit in that box and they realize it doesn't come with a gamer.
Yeah.
Okay, but that's not what you were saying.
Yeah, no, it's it's not performing the way they think because they haven't fully like you're saying, they didn't get enough games in. They haven't fully unlocked the secret sauce.
Okay.
Of how the army works. And, they got the army because it was meta and not because they liked the aesthetic. I think that's also another thing.
Okay.
It's like, oh, this is really good. And then they find out that, oh, I actually have to learn how to play this army. It's not the auto win button. And so, oh, okay, well, I didn't really like the aesthetic. I only got the army because it was winning and,
Got it.
Kind of like that.
What about you? Number one reason why you think people dump an army?
Warhammer, in general, all of them, is one of those games where there's not steps. Like, there's not like, all right, you just slowly move up the ladder, you slowly improve, things get better. Warhammer's all over the place. It is 4D chess on steroids, and I think that's what gets a lot of players. Or, as the saying goes, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face.
Sure.
They think they know how it's going to work. It doesn't work that way. And they don't want to retool, and then the army ADD kicks in. And they say, oh, well, maybe this one will play like the way that I want to play.
Right.
Yes.
Like, I've been through every rendition of Beasts of Chaos you can imagine, as have you both.
Yes.
And, like I said, my problem was every single time, like, fuck this guy. That's not playing exactly the way I played 30 minutes ago.
Right.
But then I take my time, I calm down, I will do a little walk around the block, and I go, hey, you know what, actually? This is really going to mess up other people, and I could really have fun with this.
Yes.
So when the summoning was my favorite part, cool, they got rid of it. Then all of a sudden they made them be Bestigors a little worse, so I went a different direction. Then they made them better, went a different direction. Then they had to keep my favorite army out of all the renditions was the Game Spawn.
Yes.
Spawn.
Sure.
Game Spawn was
that
amazing.
was my favorite.
That was
yeah.
a lot of fun.
All of them that I played. But again,
Agreed.
even in the new edition, Bestigors are back to being the tanks they were always meant to be. And even at that, like I said, I love the way it plays now, but it's just another facet of the same face.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, and it's funny on the chats here, Grandson of Behemoth said, some people just buy the wrong units and give up. That's close to what I was going to say.
Yeah.
And again, we're at that cost of entry argument again.
Yeah. My thing, though, is I think and this is one man's opinion here, I know that I've heard people say this a lot, but I think one of the worst pieces of advice that you could give a new gamer and without giving them a backup comment is just play what you like. Because, again, how many times have we said it?
I concur with that in the sense of life as well, as when people say, oh, well, follow your passion. You'll never work a day in your life if you follow your passion. That's dumb.
Yeah.
Do what you're good at, make money, enjoy your passion with the money you made from the job you're good at.
Yeah, and
I hate
think
my job. Learn to like something about it. This is just good life advice, folks. Take it forward.
Yeah.
To your point, here's what I'll say is I think the best advice to a new player on deciding an army is, what do you like aesthetically? Choosing the army, do you like how the models look? Oh, these look really cool. once they've kind of chosen their army, then I think it's, hey, these units are really good.
I think
you don't want to just be like, hey, this unit looks really pretty.
Yeah, I think the best way to explain it to a new player coming in, and of course we're using the new player concept, but I think old players do it too. I've bought plenty of units, Slangors, for instance, come to mind when I was playing Beasts of Chaos. Probably the worst purchase I've ever made in this hobby ever since I started ever.
Which is a shame.
Was
the models
Slangor.
are awesome.
They suck dick. They're terrible. And the thing is though, they're cool looking models. But how many times we talked about in this?
To be fair, if you go to the website under the Weird Flame, in the furry section, there are Slangor people's costumes available.
Yeah, but I always think that exactly. But when you look at, I think people buy the wrong units. So like I said, they just buy the wrong units. I think they buy what they think looks cool. I mean, here's the thing: Slaves of Darkness. Go ahead, buy Archaon. You're going to lose every game. Archaon's a beautiful model, probably one of the most beautiful miniatures in the game. But you're going to lose.
Yeah, and
860 points. The model sucks.
Here's the thing, though, and this is what's one of the catch-22s of the hobby is every unit will have its day in the sun and its day in the valley.
Yeah.
So Archaon, okay, he sucks right now, but eventually there'll be
it's a business.
And it's a business.
For a long time, for second and third edition, they sold a lot of Archaon models.
Yeah.
But they didn't sell much of anything else.
Yes.
And so, you're right. It's still a business. But I think that's the number one reason why people, they get themselves into a quagmire with a 2,000 or 2,500 point clop of miniatures that just have no synergy. They didn't quite understand. They were hopeful. How many times as gamers do we make stuff up in our mind about how great this unit is going to be?
And then it doesn't pan out.
Well, and then we forget there's dice involved.
Yes.
Or something as simple as that.
You play out the scenarios like, this is how I'm going to win, this is how I'm going to win, and then it doesn't come to fruition. You get punched in the face.
I mean, you forget that gluttons have a 5+ save. You forget that. And you forget with 4 wounds and a 5+ save, they really don't last as long as you think. But you know what? They last a lot longer with nobblers. You forget that your Frostlord on a Stonehorn by himself is a fucking truck. But he's not going to last that long. And I think that's the thing that we fool ourselves into thinking that we have this, this army that's going to, give us infinite wins. And I think as gamers, we don't actually sit down and research. It's an expensive hobby. You talk about barrier of entry. Yeah. It's expensive. And I think that's the biggest thing. I think that's the number one reason why people get rid of. They mistakenly buy something they don't know what the hell it is.
It's too bad they can't get any more like the Spearhead games really take off. Because again, that's as a young person, you typically don't have the disposable income that we have at this point in our lives. It's hard for them to get in, but that's how you create players.
Right.
It's either that or you're targeting a bunch of 30-year-old dads who are looking for a hobby. You know what I mean? Which I'm not objecting. I fall into that category.
That's true.
But, or you're hoping that the parents are in it and they get the kids into it and they're the ones buying the stuff from anyway until they do it again.
Good point. All right, man, we're going to be right back. We're going to wrap up this topic, so we'll be back in about 2 seconds.
Why settle for just a new army this year? How about a new love, too? 2025 is here, and it's time to level up your game and your love life. Imagine a bustling marketplace in the mortal realms where new adventures and connections await. Picture this. Friends unboxing their latest army, cheering as they roll their first dice, or a painter putting the final touches on a miniature masterpiece. And there across the table, 2 players lock eyes as they reach for the same dice, sharing a laugh. Welcome to SigmarSingles.com, the ultimate place for Age of Sigmar enthusiasts to find gaming partners, trade miniatures, and maybe even discover romance. Picture a sleek, fantasy-themed interface on a magical floating screen. Browse profiles, connect over your favorite factions, and dive into virtual events. From a Stormcast Eternal awkwardly asking a Chaos Sorcerer for a duel, or a drink, to an Auric and a Dwardine bonding over their love of destruction, and even a sneaky Skaven whispering, "Find your love, love." Join the Under-Empire of Sigmar Singles. This year, conquer the mortal realms and maybe someone's heart. Visit SigmarSingles.com, where dice roll and hearts meet. Happy New Year.
All right, we are wrapping up. And, we appreciate you guys sticking with us through this topic. We know we kind of lost control of the show there for a little bit, but I hope you guys had some fun. That's really the name of the game here on Grimdark Live every single week. We want you guys to, have some fun and kind of talk about the hobby, because at the end of the day, that's really what it's about. It's about, beer and pretzels. At the end of the day, even if you're a competitive player, it's about making sure you get out there and have fun, because this is a tough game to play. It's a tough game to buy into. It's a tough game to build, paint, learn, and you want to surround yourself with good people. And we hope we do that every week. And with that saying, please make sure that you guys check your subscriber. We've had some subscribers that were pulled off the show from YouTube and unsubscribed, if you will. And so just make sure that hit the bell button so you can be on the craziness every single week. And we're also going to be possibly migrating over to another channel. We're looking at some other options here if YouTube continues to be a bunch of wet queefs. So we'll keep you posted on that one. And I really believe that they're going to continue being wet queefs. But more to come on that one. And so in the meantime, until I know for sure that they're going to play well with Grimdark Live, YouTube, you can fuck you too. But all right, what do you guys think, man? Closing topics. I'll leave it to you guys. What do you guys think? Close out on the topic.
Looking forward to 2025 and some new army business. So looking forward to getting paid. And I got a custom army that I'm building and keeping it a secret until it's built.
All right, let's hear it. What about you?
From scratch.
I got one more thing, so don't anybody leave the show. I got one more thing. Go ahead.
I'm gonna add a couple new models to my Darzakan army, just because the iron scale is fantastic, and I like the official model, but as usual, I have to have my own thing. So I'm gonna make my own iron scale and go from there. So
cool. I like it, man. You've always been pretty good at that. You've always been pretty good at kit bashing.
Kit bashing is definitely a specialty for you.
That's my special itch. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's the show. But before I jump off the show, what I want to say is we're going to be getting into. I got 7 armies. 2 of them are pretty self-explanatory, but I think the 5 are fairly. I think they're going to come at you. I think we're going to see for the rest of 4.0, especially with some of these updates to the meta, some of the points changes have come out, things that have just recently happened in the winter updates. I got 7 armies that I think are going to be people are sleeping on. Mm-hmm. And if it's okay with you guys, I'd like to talk about them over the next 7 weeks.
Yep.
Through the meta. Sure. And I think you're going to be surprised at some of them. But I have next week we're going to open up with the one that I think is going to end up being number 1 by the end of 4.0. I think you're going to see this army really take off.
Okay.
And just some of the things I witnessed and read about today and talked to some other people. It's an army that I believe everybody, I sure was, but I think everybody was sleeping on this army. But we're gonna open up next week talking about that one.
Spoiler: it's Adeptus Mechanicus. Just kidding.
Exactly. All right. Well, you bunch of dice chucking, glue sniffing gamer goons. We love you. We'll see you next week. Good night.
Bye.
Bye.
Grimdark Live would like to thank you for slumming it through another show with us for all things dice, dragons, demons, and a dwarf in the Warhammer worlds. We'll be back again real soon, so until then, roll them dice fun and fair, and don't be a frickin' short pants. You can get your Grimdark Live fix on our live show or catch us on our Grimdark Live podcast. Never fear, gang. There'll be more great content from Grimdark Live coming to you each and every week. So stay tuned and stay grim, all you dice-chucking, glue-sniffing gamer goons. You're all awesome.
Looks like I picked the wrong week to stop sniffing glue.
Remember to embrace the main message here on Grimdark Live, and that's a social contract we have between gamers and the commitment we have to each other in this community. We're only as good as our last game. Check us out at grimdarklive.com, and don't forget to subscribe, follow, and recommend Grimdark Live to your friends. So long, Grimdark Goons. Until next time, may the dice gods bless you and your sweaty palms. Bye.